you're not the only one dealing with its effects. Your pet can just face just as much. So what should you do? Dr. Carol Ronco from the Northeast Cat and Dog Hospital joins us this noon to talk about how to care for your pets in the bitter cold. And apparently my face is still frozen. I'm having trouble talking. But we have Lizzie here, who's all kinds of bundled up. And,
she is.
And I see dogs in my neighborhood with their little sweaters on.
Exactly. She and I both wore sweaters today. It's cold outside. And I'm sorry, it's cold inside sometimes, too.
I know.
Miss Lizzie here is not really a snow bunny. She does not like to go out in the snow, but she's got a nice coat to protect her when she goes out. Mom and Dad know that they wipe her feet off every time she comes in, because even though she doesn't have a lot of hair between her toes, she still makes little snowballs in there that are very irritating and cold for her feet. And since her feet are her body's so close to the ground, her belly always gets wet too.
Yeah.
And believe it or not, some owners with small dogs will actually shovel a spot in the yard for them to go out and do their business, because think about it, we could lose Lizzie in a snowdrift without too much trouble if we weren't careful.
We used to do that with a Pekingese that we had. We'd have to, because it was smaller than the snow depth.
That's exactly right. So we're assuming that if you have your inside dog, you're going to keep it bundled up when it goes outside. Keep those outside times to a minimum. Make sure they're wiped off well when they come in. Let's keep them warm. Now, let's talk about those, unfortunate pets that are left outside.
Oh, I know.
I don't think it's a good idea. And you just did the weather. It's going to be colder than it is now. Well, you know, it's in the 20s. It seems like if your dog were acclimated and it had good shelter and it had water that wasn't going to freeze, it would be okay. But I'm sorry, I stood out there with that snow pelting me for a little bit today, and I wasn't having a very good time, and I couldn't see any pet that would. But we've got temperatures going down in single digits.
And wind chills well below zero.
Well below that. I think even at this point, pets should be inside. Even if you've got to take a dog who usually lives in an outside area and bring it in your garage, that's more ability for that pet to keep their body temperature. If you have them in a dog house, raise it up, because it needs to be off of the ground. Otherwise, you're sitting on those cold temperatures. It's really cold for these guys. And let's make sure that water bowl doesn't get any frozen ice on the top. Just a tiny little layer of ice. Your pet can't break through and get the water underneath. Now they don't have water and it's cold. And they've, so bring them inside. Give them the comforts that we all enjoy, that they deserve, and let's keep those guys wiped off, warm, and safe indoors in this cold, cold weather.
Good idea. Great advice. Thanks, Dr. Ronco.